thank you for joining us on the 37th episode of the Let's Dream podcast. Today we have another great dreamer interview, and we'll be going over a lot of interesting dream stories and, as always, kind of discussing the nature of consciousness and how dreams play a role in that. If anybody's wanting to share any dreams that they want to be read out loud on the podcast, feel free to do so at our website of LetsDreamPodcast.com, or you can also just drop us a post on the Let's Dream Podcast subreddit. Is just our Let's Dream Podcast, all one word. And also you can see a lot of different art posted on there, art that we've made or that other Redditors have made. And if anybody's interested in joining our Discord, let us know. We will send you a link to that. Without further ado, here is the interview. Today we have another dreamer interview. Today's guest is Lolika. How's it going, Lolika?
Actually, fairly well, I would say.
Great. So we met on the Reddit forum, and you actually gave one very interesting dream. And then I decided to bring you on as a guest because I think you may have some interesting things to say about dreams and also sharing some dream stories. So let me just go ahead and start right off with the first question. That's always the most interesting question to me is, why do you think we dream? Why do you think people dream?
I have the way I actually see it is two ways. The first one is that dreams, well, the one I call the biological reason, it's a unconscious way of memories, a mashup of memories and thoughts that we once had or still have. And I believe sometimes it's actually reflecting of what we wish for.
Okay.
Though it's not always conscious, in my opinion. Sometimes it's just something basic, such as, you like something, you want to do it, and then in the end, you happen to be in a broken city of Berlin.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So, that's actually a really good, because most often I would say probably the things that I dream about are things that I want. So that makes sense. So you said that there was two. You can think of two reasons. One of them is the biological one. What was the other one?
As I said, the other one is mainly the wishes, and sometimes actually I'm not sure if it's called lucid dreaming. I'm fairly new to the whole concept of lucid dreaming and such, at least to understanding it. So the way I imagine it is it's sometimes like when you have a thought of something, and as you start losing conscience, you go asleep, the thought may stick in still. And then your memories come in and hit you and hit with it, and then you get something interesting. I've actually attempted this numerous times when I'm writing. It doesn't matter what, I just usually think of something and then wish for a dream to happen. The success rate is very high, but the memory is very low.
I see. Okay. So why do you think people have the ability to lucid dream then?
I'm not necessarily sure. I always assumed it just happens because they focus their mind on it. Some people can really focus their minds on something to the point they can memorize it, or not. I'm not sure what else. Actually, just memorize the details to the absolute point.
Okay. Like, do you meditate at all?
Meditate. Well, I do sometimes something as a meditation, but to me, a meditation is just look at a blank wall and do nothing for the next hour or so. Just not think about anything, and that's it.
Okay, I see. That is one. Actually, that's a very difficult form of meditation. It's very hard not to think about anything. But I only ask because what you said about focusing, it made me think of meditating because I practice meditation, different kinds of meditation every now and then, just because I've noticed that it does help with lucid dreaming. Um, and I was just thinking, maybe like what you said, maybe it's just people have the ability to focus, and some people are better at focusing than others, obviously. So maybe that's how come they can lucid dream. Like they have that ability. Do you have any lucid dreaming experiences that you would like to share? Like, do you lucid dream regularly, or?
Um, as of late, I don't even remember most of my dreams. Like the last one I had, what I actually wanted to write down or something like that, but in reality, you know, the thing is, it wasn't really interesting. Like most of the time, I don't even attempt lucid dreaming nowadays because, well, I am mostly forced to do other things, like go outside and work somewhere, those kind of things.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
nowadays, I just don't.
I see. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely, as life gets more hectic, it's definitely becoming more difficult to lucid dream. But I every now and then, like, because I'm a lot busier now, so I'll try to make sure, like, maybe 2 or 3 times a month I'll set aside time. But yeah, I agree. It does get harder to lucid dream when you're busier. But have you ever had any dreams by any chance that maybe felt just as real as this reality, or maybe even more real than this waking reality?
I believe I do. Some of them were quite hilarious. One of them was that I was at in my town's local Lidl, and I got shot.
Oh,
And then because nobody wanted to call hospital, so I just had to crawl back all those 30 minutes of walking back to home, where finally somebody from my house just called the hospital. That's the
oh wow.
closest to. I was never shot, though my town had one shooting 11 years ago.
Oh wow. Uh, so during that dream, did you when you woke up from that dream, like how did you feel? Like when what were you thinking?
Annoyed, annoyed actually.
Annoyed.
The thing is, I felt annoyed. It was like, come on, you have to shoot me. And especially, with the manager just coming out and saying, hey, you bled all over the floor, clean it up and get out.
Oh wow. Wow, man, that's harsh. But because I've talked to people before that have gotten shot in dreams, and then they would wake up with like a pain or like us being sore wherever they got shot. Did you experience that?
I actually did it. It felt. I actually sort of imagined ever since that day. I actually always imagined like how it would possibly feel to get shot. Based on that thing I had in the dream, it felt. Have you ever cut yourself? Like accidentally. You were
Yeah,
cutting a
yeah.
carrot and you was like, well, I imagine something like that, but deeper and bit hot.
Okay, I see. Wow, yeah, because I mean, obviously, I've never gotten shot, but I have had dreams before where I've gotten shot, and it's weird how your mind can kind of like calculate and make you experience something that you wouldn't have necessarily experienced in real life, but still make it feel real. So that's crazy. But so how about, have you ever had any dreams within dreams? Kind of like have you seen Inception?
I've seen, and I'm actually thinking about it because I believe I had one, but I'm not necessarily sure.
Okay.
I no, I believe I didn't, sadly.
Okay.
It's usually, well, sometimes it felt, well, there was one, but I don't necessarily remember the inner dream, the dream inside the dream. I just remember that it was sort of a vision of potential death,
Oh wow. Okay.
and not mine. It was like a prophecy for some politician.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. It kind of makes me think of like if when you're awake and doing things throughout your day, and then you kind of like sometimes you daydream, but you're still awake and you're here, but you're daydreaming. Um, I wonder if it's kind of like in the dream. It's almost like if you start daydreaming in the dream can just shift, into the exact like happening for like in that dream. Um, but that's interesting. Like you had like a vision inside of a dream. That's kind of an
Yes,
interesting
but
thought.
it was kind of pointless because in the end, in the dream, the person I saw dying while I pretended being important actually wasn't.
Oh,
In fact, I the only reason why he was important is because he visited the hot dog stand in that dream, and that's basically it.
okay. But see, like that's actually you bring up a good point because in dreams, you know, like sometimes things feel really, really like incredibly important, even if it's something, you know, just like a guy visiting a hot dog stand. Um, so there's definitely like an aspect of feelings in dreams, you know, like the feelings that you experience can feel very, very real. Like, have you ever had like a dream where you wake up and you're just like, you know, the feelings still linger from the dream? Like you just feel like something important happened, like that.
There was one that I really don't like mentioning most of the time, and the other one, well, there was one that's way too bizarre, and I still sometimes like to think about it. The dream in question, the one that I actually like talk about sometimes is it was basically me being in, I believe, 1950s Germany,
Okay.
Berlin, and there was sort of this civil war or Cold War, but actually Third World War, where I don't remember either Democratic or Communist German soldier, and I was
Okay.
just doing walking through the city of Berlin, trying to stop the other side. Then I was betrayed by my officer, who revealed that he was secretly a Nazi, wanting
Oof.
to build an actual superhuman that looked like a 50-meter tall Hulk. And in order to kill him, we had to sacrifice Broly from Dragon Ball. The moment I woke up, I was still wondering how the hell did that get in? Like, just in order to stop him, we had to sacrifice a Broly.
Hold on, hold on. So I have to ask, Broly is like undefeatable. How did you sacrifice him?
We threw him. The whole battleground was a 10-story building with pool. Around it was basically nothing. And what we were doing, I was there with a random soldier. I believe he was called Jurgen. And what we were doing was just basically outrunning the superhuman, shooting at the traitors, and then Broly was there just, wondering what the hell is going on. And then we said, Broly, look out. He died, superhuman died, the world was saved. The end. Just that way. As I
uh,
woke up, never, I actually still wonder why the hell was he there?
that's great. Oh man, I love that. That's perfect dream logic. But yeah, like I mean, that's um, like you mentioned earlier. It's, you know, maybe like your brain processing something from your memories or something. It somehow slipped in there. I often dream of Dragon Ball Z. Actually, one of the first things that I do whenever I used to do it a lot whenever I'm lucid dreaming. I always wanted to feel like what it would be like to turn into a Super Saiyan. So that was like my go-to. That's like the first thing that I would do whenever I turned lucid dreaming is just go Super Saiyan.
Every time I actually lucid dreamed, I wanted to visit a fantasy world.
Yeah, like give an example. Like what kind of a world?
Most of the time, it depends. Like before 2015, I was very actually very strong fantasy fan. My favorite fantasies were Lord of the Rings, the
Nice,
and Witcher, which is still my favorite one, as well as Lord of the Rings.
nice.
These sort of ones, and always like to feel like being in that world. Most of the time it was just me being a wanderer, a lone wanderer going through the world and experiencing, sometimes actually even being part of the fellowship.
Nice.
And
That
then actually one day I had a other dream which I'm not sure how I got it. Still, it's quite bizarre, but it actually made forced me to start writing stories and such. Because the things that I saw, I found myself mesmerized by. So
okay.
nowadays I'm So nowadays, when I can, I try to think of these sort of things.
Okay. So what happened in that dream? The one that inspired you to write?
Uh, it was basically me going through a continent called Alicia,
Okay.
and there was a war between the Dwarven Empire led by the great king Ishra, and he was trying to stop the malevolent god emperor of Storm. Well, he was called Emperor of Storm, but he believed himself to be a god, and rightfully so. He burned down the forest in size of Poland
Oh wow.
within just 1 hour using the storm and thunder.
Wow. So like
And
so
so the dream was me helping the Dwarven king fight off the Emperor.
how long did that dream last?
I no longer remember. I just remember like few scenes. One of them was me meeting the main hero of the kingdom, and then the capital city as where the emperor actually stood.
Okay. Yeah, because that sounds like a very, very epic dream. It sounds like it could be a movie. And that's why I was wondering how long it lasted. Because sometimes, in the past, I've had dreams that felt like they've lasted months or sometimes years. Have you ever had that? Like a really, really long dream that felt like it was lasted a really, really long time.
There was one that felt longer than it should. It was about me being part of. Actually, no. Yes, this one actually lasted longer. It was me being in an arm, and this is actually a bit part of my country's history. It was me being in my country in 1944, and
Okay.
there actually, and I was an undercover agent pretending to be an SS officer, helping the Slovak national uprising in the rebellion. Later on, I was present in a town, a small town somewhere in the South Slovakia, where I actually where the whole rebellion, where actually the fighting in the dream started. And the weird thing was, the reason why it lasted long because there were many parts of it. Like for example, having to hide anti-tank cannons in houses and barns, just so when the tanks come in, they won't notice them.
Oh wow.
Having to find a circus where there were undercover soldiers. I don't know why they were in the circus, but there were, and those
Okay.
kind of things. While also stopping literally everyone by calling "stop" in the name of the Reich.
Oh wow. Man, so that's a very yeah, that's really detailed. I like that. I like that. So like you remember that those are very specific details that you remember, like hiding tanks in barns and stuff and houses.
The
How
one that I
long?
actually remember much longer, and this one I actually made me write another story, was being set in an alternate history where Germany won the First World War, and I was the German general trying to fight off Japanese from Vietnam.
Wow.
I don't know. That I also remember like detailing how we're gonna stop the Japanese by building spider webs. Well, I call these spider webs. In reality, those were bunkers, and the only roads to them were like formed in a shape of spider web, just so they can fall and drown our
Wow.
enemies.
That's so you were the general in that dream.
hmm And I
Wow.
and I even actually in that dream I even got to shake with the German emperor his hand.
Wow. That's wow. Oh man, those are really really detailed dreams. I like the fact that you remember all those. Like, how long ago would you say that dream was?
2 years.
2 years.
It will be
Okay.
2 years by now.
I'm asking because it's sometimes I talk to people about dreams all the time, and then sometimes some people don't even dream, like at all. Like they say that don't or they don't remember any of their dreams, but people always remember at least one or two dreams that they've had at some point in their life. And it's what's interesting to me is that sometimes I'll ask a person, what dream they remember, and they'll say like a dream from like 15 years ago, and they remember it like perfectly.
I remember a dream from I believe 15 years ago when I was just 5.
Okay, yeah. What was the dream?
It was this was actually one of the dreams that is a bit of a combined one. It was it was basically Lord of the Rings combined with another fantasy that actually my very first fantasy that I fell in love with, the Black Moon Chronicles.
Okay,
Although although that dream was a bit shaped by how I understood that fantasy at the time. So
okay.
basically, instead of Emperor Hagendorf, it was King Hagendorf that I flew on his dragon and saluted his grand army.
Wow. So you were 5 when you dreamed that?
I believe I was 5,
Okay.
since I'm not sure actually.
Do you think that that was the earliest dream that you remember? Do you remember any dreams before that?
Some things feel like dreams. Actually, I'm no longer sure how how real they were and how fake they were.
Okay. So, okay, that's actually a good point. Have you cuz how like a person's memory is usually very unreliable. Have you ever had it happen where you dreamt something but you thought it was an actual real memory? Have you ever had that happen?
I believe I do, but I usually repressed those dreams. Like, instantly try to forget them because they did something I didn't want actually to give a ground to. Something like a possibility that is too traumatizing for a person.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they say that most dreams that people have, I guess, a larger percentage of dreams are supposedly negative, although it kind of varies from person to person. But I'm very, very interested by that because it's happened to me before where I dreamt something and it was, like a very realistic dream. And then like I'll talk to like my fiance or my friends or something, and they'll be like, "That never happened." And I'm like, wait a minute," and then I'll have to like read through my dream journal, and I'm like, "Oh crap, yeah." Like it doesn't happen often, but it has happened to me, so it's kind of scary when that happens. The dream that the one that you were explaining about where you were the general. How long do you think that dream lasted?
It felt like it lasted exactly 5 months of the entire conflict. So that was because I also appeared in that same dream. I appeared in an interview with, I'm not sure whether they were English or American, since they had king, but you know, alternate history can form a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, so that kind of leads me to the next question, which is it's kind of a hard question, but I'm interested to see your response. So obviously, like dreaming and like when you're dreaming, it's like basically your mind generates these entire worlds where everything feels and like tastes, looks, feels, smells, everything for all intents and purposes, it feels like a real, just different reality. Would you agree?
It always does. It always does, just not our minds don't always remember that.
Exactly. So my question then is how would you define consciousness? Like how if you had to define or explain consciousness to somebody, what would you say?
I would say, well, there are two ways I would respond. One of them is consciousness is a concept made up by our mind to
Okay.
force us to function. The other one, I would say, conscience. Ooh, that's actually a hard one. To me, consciousness is usually just a way of perception, how we can think of, how can we view, feel, and hear all around us, but also how we can feel, as in have it engraved in our mind. Because one thing is that you can see, hear, or just feel, touch your skin, but some things just feel differently. For example, you speak to a person and then you may be angered by how he speaks or how he sounds or just that he is there and you don't know how. I believe part
Yeah.
of consciousness is that it's sort of like a spirit, your spirit that also, as you think, he also thinks, but those two minds don't always have to collide.
Okay. Yeah, those are actually. I thank you. I like both of those explanations. So it's kind of like the first one you said it was is just a concept that our mind made up to perform a function. And then the second one you said is kind of like
Like
it's
a
kind of
second being,
like a
a
second
second being,
being.
not a
Yeah.
soul, a second being that is part of you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's I see. I always love asking that question to people because people that are willing to answer it, they always have something new. I've never heard the same person give like the same response twice, like or two different people give the same response. That's interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So that's really kind of like all of the questions that I wanted to ask in related to dreams and consciousness. And then what like and you've shared this one really really cool dream with me. I was going to ask you to maybe share a couple of dreams. I know the one that you had shared was with the with Toothless, where
Ah, yeah, that one.
do you mind
Yes.
sharing that one for our listeners? I think they would really appreciate it.
Actually, this dream I remembered this dream I had exactly few days, possibly just exactly a day after the very first How to Train Your Dragon movie came out.
Okay.
And in the dream it was well the dream itself was basically like there was another movie in which I was present, and the whole dream was about well Hiccup and Toothless were trying to outrun a doctor. I in the on Reddit post I wrote that he looked like Doctor Mewtwo from Doctor Mewtwo games, when in reality I don't no longer remember. It's just that when I was watching Nitro Red, the Doctor Mewtwo character looked just exactly like in the dream, almost
Okay.
well. And in that dream, because I was at the time also a big fan of Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga games,
Okay.
I believe that's why. Mario and Luigi were also present in that dream. Well, the whole thing was Hiccup came to us and told us the situation and said that he needs our help to outrun the evil doctor. So me, Mario, and Luigi asked Dr. Eget to build us a blimp, a Zeppelin, and we tried to escape to London because we believed London will be the safest place. Problem is, at the time we reached, it was a whole battle for London appeared. I wrote it was in the style of World War II, but I no longer am sure because I remember there being planes and me, Luigi, and Mario having to take up guns just to shoot down the planes, while Hiccup decided to confront the doctor in the skies on his personal vehicle.
Was that it or
I the only well that's basically much about it. I remember at first I just simply took this dream as yeah sure that's fine, and then when the How to Train Your Dragon 3 movie got announced, and it was basically about that white-haired guy being like, I want Toothless. I just simply was like, I called it. My subconsciousness called it.
nice? I like that. Um, well, that was really a very entertaining dream. I remember when you shared that, I really had I enjoyed reading it, and then obviously I made a little. Did you see the sketch that I
I
made of it?
actually saw it. I even responded like I like it.
Oh, that okay, that's right. Yeah, because yeah, that was actually one of my favorite ones to draw because there was so much going into it, like going on. It felt very dynamic. But yeah, that's a perfect example of just how dreams can be just like a mesh of things you see in real life, and then things you care about, and then like maybe things that you've thought about before. Yeah, that was great. So do you have any other dream stories that you may want to share with our listeners?
Could you please repeat the question or?
Yeah. So do you have any other dreams that you would want to share with our listeners?
Actually, there are many, but to cut it short, the ones, one of the interesting ones were, well, the ones I had at least were with the character of Rayman, because usually, at least in the game, in his own games, Rayman is usually the main hero fighting off these things. But in my dreams, I'm actually trying to always rescue him from someone, ranging from, I believe a demon. I'm not sure what it was.
Okay.
And in the other one, just from an angry customer at a bar.
What?
So it ranges. Either I'm fighting an unnatural, multi-dimensional being, or just an angry customer that has a gun or a magic wand.
Specifically to save Raymond.
Rayman.
I'm sorry, Raymond. Yeah, that dog-looking thing that doesn't have any, like it has arms and legs, or arms and feet, or hands and feet, but no arms, right?
Yes,
Okay.
he was one. I believe I remember him. That he is actually that engraved in my mind because when I was a kid, there were a few games I remember vividly playing. Like I always loved to play them, and Rayman games were one of them. One of the few of those, the Holy Seven, as I like to call them.
Yeah, actually, I remember. Yeah, Raymond. I remember playing one of them. I think it was like for the for the Sega. I forget, not the Sega. Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, that's Raymond. Raymond was a fun game, but yeah, that character is a very interesting character because he doesn't have any arms or legs, but he has like hands and feet. So it was very, very interesting. So you think maybe the reason why you dreamt about saving him so much is because he had a part in your childhood?
I believe so. I believe so, but the thing is that there are a lot of things that had also presence in my childhood, but I always have them in a different way. Just I was saving Rayman, and in the other dreams, I also usually tended to have about other games I had. I was actually just ranging from a footman, like the guy in the lowest ranks,
Okay.
to the one that isn't in any rank, just like an extra being. So
Yeah.
either I was a part of it in the lowest rank, doing great things, or I was an outsider to even them.
Okay. I see. So actually, that you said that earlier in one of the dreams, you said that like you had like a dream where it was like in Lord of the Rings, and you were just like a wanderer, and then you also interacted with the main character, or like the main hero of the story. So that's actually very original, I think, because usually people are like the hero, like of the dream. But it's interesting that you actually you've taken the role of like the side, kind of like a side character, almost like just to see what it's like from their eyes. That's really cool. So that's pretty much like all the questions that I had, and like the dreams that we were going over. Then I do want to thank you, Lolika, for coming on. I've really enjoyed talking to you. And if you, in the future, if you have any more dreams that you want to share with us, feel free to send me a message. And we were thinking pretty soon we'll probably start doing like live streaming where people can just come in like to the Discord channel and share dreams with us. So that would also be cool. But yeah, anytime you want to share any dreams, let us know, and we're always happy to have you on. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
I thank you very much, Casey, and I also wish you a very nice day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.